Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is the Super Jew. This is another Kingdom Come Deliverance video, pretty much an info video, and this also will overview a Q&A that Warhorse Studio did with WCCF Tech back on January 11th. So I've never really kind of surfed the web and read stuff from WCCF Tech, but on Twitter, Warhorse Studio actually retweeted something, this article that I'll be showing you. So quickly before I get into it, because they have a lot of good stuff in there, just be sure to subscribe to get entered into the Total War giveaway. I will be giving away Empire Divided come February, so it's coming up really soon. And yeah, should be good. All you have to do is subscribe, and be sure to join the Discord too to get in on all that fun. I'll leave a link to that down below. And so this game releases on February 13th, and this is the first part I want to talk about because a lot of people have had questions about how big the map is going to be and, you know, just the size of it. And so I think, so Warhorse Studio says that the map will be 16 square kilometers, and that's the extended map size. So, you know, they say the 16 square kilometers are the extended map size. They originally planned for 9 square kilometers, but that grew along as the game developed. And so I just want to quickly point out that that is not exactly that big, and I'm not here to bash the game at all. I'm just saying, like, look at these comparisons. And so it should be pointed out that the 16 square kilometers is roughly 7 square miles. And so just looking at these results right here, you've got, you know, the game is going to be bigger than Grand Theft Auto 3, but that's really it. Now, this isn't, of course, every open world game, but this is just to give you a kind of comparison look. You know, and I mean, some of these games are just huge. I haven't played most of the ones to the left, but I do think that it is something to consider. You know, I understand that this was a Kickstarter game, so this isn't me complaining. I think it should be great because, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this isn't going to be Grand Theft Auto 5. We're going to be cruising around in like the latest, you know, sports car. Of course not. You will be, horse will be your means of transportation, and of course walking. So it's just something to keep in mind, definitely. But I think the fact that it is 16 square kilometers is good because of the fact that you'll just be able to be on a horse, you know, like it works with the environment, with the geography, which kind of moves me to my next point, which they talked about, where a concern I've seen is that the game looks boring to some viewers commenting on the gameplay videos released so far. So I think, is that something you expect to go on with the high degree of historical accuracy? So they're pretty much saying because of what the game is all about, is that going to be boresome? And now I've actually read this. I've seen what the interviewer has talked about on forums and whatnot. People have asked, you know, is the game going to be boring because there won't be that fantasy element. And the interviewee talks about that. He says, you know, there's no GPS system, there's no mini-map, there's no question markers or arrows over the NPCs. So this is going to be a very realistic take on, you know, historic, you know, medieval Czech Republic. You know, it'll be very, very serious. Now, I also have seen a lot of people like that, though. They like the fact that, you know, it'll be very realistic. It will be no training wheels in the sense. And Warhorse has stated that there will be multiple ways to, you know, solve your quest and to make decisions, and that they'll all have different outcomes. So there is still that RPG element. In fact, that RPG element, if anything, has been amplified. So I definitely think that, I don't believe that it will be boring but that is just me. That is my opinion. I think that this is a very good take because we have plenty of, I mean, Skyrim is one of a kind game, but we have plenty of RPGs, you know, Dragon Age and all that stuff that have those fantasy elements. So I definitely think that the fact that this game is taking such a realistic take on it, and they're staying true to that, will be very good for the game, and it'll also draw in a large audience as well. And so this no training wheels kind of mentality moves me to my next point, the next part in the Q&A, where someone asks, will there be different difficulty settings to choose from in Kingdom Come Deliverance? And they pretty much say, no, you're going to have to pretty much be good. No, they really do explain that you will need some playing skills in combat, for example, to be victorious. But you can also, they say, quote, train before going into the next challenge. So that makes me wonder, will you be able to actually literally train, like have a dummy or have somebody that you know, or go to some, like a village and a I don't know, a swordsmith or I don't know, the person in command of the training yard and you know, kind of literally train. I mean, they could do it any type of way. There's multiple ways you can do it, but it just makes me wonder. I know I just kind of named off 5 different methods, but I mean, that's because I'm so curious on what they mean by, quote, train. So, but I digress, because my point is, I like that the fact that they do this, how they say, yes, you will need some sort of playing skills for combat, because if you've seen the gameplay videos, you know that, like, it's not rock, paper, scissors, shoot by any means, but it's still very, like, they have certain, like, there's slash, there's stab, there's a few different types of attacking that you can do. So I think that's what they mean by playing skills. Like, you'll have to know when's the best type of attack to do to somebody when you're in combat. They also touch on hardcore mode. They don't exactly have an idea for that right now. I think they'll probably, like kind of like Bethesda has done, they'll release like a more hardcore mode for that after release. So, you know, I'm not really a huge fan on hardcore modes. It's not that I don't like them. I just don't usually play them, but I know that you know, people like that, very hardcore. Haha, see what I did there? Gamers like that. So, you know, like they say, but we'll have to put our heads together. And no matter what, it will be a challenging experience that will require some brain work from the players. So, as not all quest solutions jump out in your face. So, again, they're just touching on the fact that, like, this game, I just think that this game is going to be very unique, as they said before. And I don't think they're just saying it because so many game developers will say, oh, yes, our game experience is unique. I really do think that this will be a unique experience because it's not going to have the GTA speed with the Skyrim fantasy. It's going to be very at your pace, very slow. Like, the previous slide showed that they're going to have 1,000 points of interest. I mean, that's crazy. This game is probably going to take you so long to complete. But that's okay, because honestly, I don't plan on rushing through this game. I'll definitely take my time. And so my next point, or the last part of this Q&A, is probably my most favorite, and of course is the least amount of information, but it focuses on modding and the specs. And so I think this is what I was most curious about for this game in terms of, you know, what can the community do with it. So the modding, and they say our team has had great experiences with modding on past projects. We also would like to address the modding community, but are still not sure how and when exactly. So, of course, that's very vague, but I honestly think they don't really know. Like, I am not a modder, as I've said in previous videos before, especially regarding Total War. Like, I'm not a modder, you know. I'm not like a programmer. I play mods and I enjoy them. I just don't know what goes into making them. So I don't really have that much of a, you know, stone to stand on, you know, something to grab. But I will say this, if this game is moddable, which I'm sure it will be. I mean, I would imagine that it would be. Think of the possibilities. Could you imagine a Game of Thrones like scenario where somebody makes, I'm just so excited, like just thinking about it. I think that would be awesome. Like having a Game of Thrones, Kingdom Come Deliverance, like overhaul. That would just be amazing. Like if somebody did that, I would say, here, take my money now, just take it. Like literally take my money, because I would think this would be so amazing. So let me know down in the comments what scenario you would like to see for this game in terms of modding. What would you do differently, or what would you change about it in terms of modding? Because I'm sure the vanilla game, will be awesome. I'm just curious about your thoughts on it in general. What would you like to see from the modding community? And then, of course, you have got, they ask crowdfunding for funding when it comes to future projects after Kingdom Come Deliverance. And, of course, Warhorse Studio says, you know, we're really only focusing on Kingdom Come Deliverance. I think that might be more pertinent for a AAA developer. But for right now, I mean, they had so much help, but yet they still have so much to do with Kingdom Come Deliverance. I don't think that they'll focus on any other projects really. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, what do I know? I just don't think that they'll be focusing on anything else until really Kingdom Come Deliverance is the best game that they can make it. And then they talk about the specs as well. So they asked, could you share the recommended PC specs for targeting 4K and 60 FPS after your final optimization pass? Will there be support for multi-GPU SLI Crossfire systems at launch? Okay, now I don't know what half of that stuff means. I'm not going to lie. Like I've said, I'm not that techie. But in terms of general specs, there are beta specs that were released, of course, for the beta, and Game Debate has released these as the minimum specs for the game. And of course, this was for the beta, so I don't know how this is, of course, subject to change. But just to give you a rough idea on what you're going to need, which I think most people who get this game will probably have this, of course, Windows 7 obviously these are the minimum specs. BT dubs, okay. The CPU is an i5 750 2.6 gigahertz, 2.66 gigahertz, which actually I think is might be a little high. I mean, I don't think that's too high. I'm saying for the minimum requirements. Mine, the turbo is way higher than that, but in terms of minimum, it's not much higher than that. So you may need a somewhat good rig to really run this on Ultra. I mean, you probably will, given what I've seen from the gameplay, because the game just looks really good. But of course, DirectX 11 capable graphics card. I mean, duh. And then in terms of the graphics card themselves, like the GeForce GTX 950, and I see a lot of people have been upgrading. I know they did in 2017, and in 2018 there's going to be great graphics cards being released. So I'm sure that if you have like a 960 or obviously a 950, but really anything of the ladder you will have, or above the ladder, you'll be able to run the game just fine. And probably the last point I want to touch on is Kingdom Come Deliverance is listed on Microsoft's Xbox One's X Enhanced page. Can you share with us your take as a developer on the most powerful console ever made, as well as the technical specifications of this version? In terms of just native resolution, target frame rate, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So currently, it surely is the most powerful console. In general, it allows us to use 1440 resolution, top quality global illumination, more and better shadows, better lighting, and LOD distances compared to the regular Xbox One. So essentially, they're just saying, oh yeah, we're definitely going to use the Xbox One X's, the power of it to make the game look great on the Xbox One X. Now, I don't have an Xbox. I'm more of a Sony guy, as if you've watched any of my console games. But, it's fun. That's cool either way that they're going to it really just seems like Warhorse Studio is going to give the best experience they can to, PC and especially console players. So that's really all I have to say about this Q&A. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really hope that this was informative and that, you kind of maybe made your mind swirl a little bit, kind of got you thinking about this game. It comes out very soon, as I said, February 13th, literally just a month away about that. So, yeah, this is going to be awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.